Welcome everyone to Oakland Leadership. I'm Penny Shults and we're excited to have Lieutenant Dan Toth and Chief Robert Smith with us today to talk about the public safety millages that will be on the August 2nd, 2016 ballot. Orion Township is one of the fastest growing communities and one of the safest communities in Oakland County, and we're glad to have their input today as to why this millage is important for each of our fire department and our sheriff department. Thank you, gentlemen. I'm glad you're here today.
Well, thank you for having us, Penny.
So tell me a little bit about yourself before we get started, Lieutenant Toth.
Well, I've been with the Sheriff's Office for 31 years, and I'm a U.S. Army veteran for 4 years. And my family's been in Oakland County for over 100 years, and this is my dream job. I just love working in Orion Township, and that's...
We're glad to have you here.
Yeah, it's a great community, and it's a great job.
And you were here the last time we had a ballot proposal for the sheriff millage, correct?
Yes, in 2012.
Okay. And how about you, Chief? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've been here since 1986. I started out as a paid-on-call firefighter. We had just, at that time, the fire chief. And I joined to serve the community and stuff like that. In 1990, job opportunity came along to be the fire inspector. I applied for it and got it. And at that point, I've just continued moving up the rung. The fire marshal for a while, assistant fire chief, and now here I sit. Our original fire chief retired in 1990, or no, 5 years ago, I'm sorry. And so I've taken over.
You've done a great job.
Well, thank you.
We're glad to have you in this role in Orion Township. You've instituted full-time firemen. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, we had a need. We've had a need for quite a while. Funny thing, I was looking at some history the other day, and in 1986, when I joined, a busy year was 800 calls a year, and that was for the whole township. And that particular year, we had some storms go through in it, so we had quite a few calls where we went just single days and stuff like that, 30, 40 calls. So it really put it up. Now we're right now we're at over 1,700 calls.
Incredible.
This year, or I'm sorry, 1,100 calls this year, and I'm expecting 2,400 to 2,500 calls. So just since 1986 till now, which brought us to a need to have these stations covered. With the paid on call, a little bit of how it works is people, they have pagers and they get called and they would go to the station, grab the trucks, and then go to the scene of the emergency. Well, it would take them 3 to 4 or 5 minutes even to get to the station, get in, and so it was 6 or 7 minutes before they got a truck on the road. Now, since we've put one person in each station since 2012, we get a truck on the road within 90 seconds.
I like that.
Yep.
Sure, a lot better than 6 minutes.
Yes, it is.
Can we talk about dispatch? Because we know, Lieutenant Toth, that all the dispatch is done through the Oakland County Sheriff's Office.
Yes, we both police and fire are dispatched from a regional dispatch center out of Pontiac or Waterford, and that regional dispatch center actually involves over 23 different departments. And it's a very effective and efficient means. They upgrade the technology yearly. It's a very costly with all the increase in technology. It's a state-of-the-art center. Last year they started dispatching, or accepting 911 by text messaging. And
that's so important.
Yeah, it's all about response times, and the Q&A process that we utilize. It's state of the art, and at times residents, when they get the dispatchers on the phone, it may seem like they're asking some questions that aren't related, but actually when they use these Q&A protocols, it's a nationally accredited protocol process. It just ensures that it's 100% accuracy. Nothing can be skipped. And what's most importantly, when you call 911 or 858-4911 from Orion Township, you stay on the line with the call taker. And as that call taker is taking that information, they're typing it in and actually sending it to the dispatchers. and you stay on the line with the same call taker from the time you call until you're finished with your call. And obviously everything is prioritized based on the type of call, but that's, you know, it's just critical in this day and age.
I'm amazed how quickly you guys are out there. I've been in meetings with both of you and the tones go off and you're gone. You're already on it.
Correct. If I may add to what the Lieutenant said about the texting 911, it's a new technology, like he said, but less than 2 weeks ago, Rochester Hills had a house fire that they're crediting with saving the house because the person was deaf and could not speak, and he texted in that my house is on fire. So
I'm so glad.
Got the fire department coming right away. So that's a great thing right there, that that you're able to do that nowadays.
So you can communicate no matter what the disability might be. You get the information where it needs to be to get the help.
Yeah, one of the first things I did after I took over was the county is on a what they call an open sky radio system, and we worked together and utilized that. Got the radios in the trucks. We carry the preps like you see there on the table, and they're really mini computers, and they're not the old time radios and everything like a lot of people are used to, and that gave us the capabilities that we can actually talk to the Sheriff's Department now, where before we'd have to call our dispatch would have to call you know, their car and say, well, you know, so-and-so is doing this or whatever, and we'd have to sit there and wait for them. We actually have the capabilities now, and like things like the Lion, the Jubilee and stuff like that, we can actually pick up a channel and actually just communicate right together in that. So it's a great thing for this way the technology's come forward.
That's so important.
Interoperability is the word, so we can communicate regardless. If we have natural disasters, we can communicate with all the different agencies throughout Oakland County. It's much quicker, it's more effective, and that regional dispatch center has a direct link to the state police in Lansing. It's the primary 911 center for Oakland County. So just the continuity and the interoperability of working, you know, regionally, you know, from the small things to the large,
yes,
is just critical in this day and age.
You're saving lives. That's so important. We need to get you out there immediately, and your response time is incredible. And I hear from people, being clerk for the township, I hear from people about the service that's being provided. When people are in crisis, they know what to do and the help arrives. And that's why it's important that we support you. You're asking for a millage in August, at the August 2nd election. And can you talk a little bit about what that millage is going to be about and why people need to support it? We'll start with you, Lieutenant.
Yeah, this is, we've been operating underneath two, first of all, the police millage, it's totally dedicated. It's 2.985. It's actually been reduced. So I think the most important thing that people need to know, there's no new taxes, and this is actually a slight decrease. Mm-hmm. And the second most important thing is that we were able to accomplish this for under 3 mills, and that's the total. There's no other funds coming from any other funds. It's a total dedicated and transparent police fund. And it's the same, 2 millages are being combined into one. So there was 2 separate millages. So on the ballots it'll look like one new one, but it's you know, actually 2 separate millages that are combined. So there's no new taxes.
Okay.
It's the same 2.985.
Excellent.
Millage rate. And
so people can know that they're not paying higher taxes as a result of these 2 millages being combined.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
It's in reality it's a renewal, but you can't say it's a renewal when you combine the 2 millages, and you know,
yes,
you know,
it's
more than anyone.
It's
Correct.
the first time
so,
that language has appeared on a ballot in that format, so it has to be called new.
Yeah, and it's for 4 years, the same time span it's been previously, and I think as the folks can see, we've worked together with the fire department to get the word out on a lot of the literature and signage and things like that, because once again we're just saving costs. We're working together to educate the public on what it's all about. So that's why you see the police and fire on the same signage and the literature that we're putting out.
And people can go to the website. We will show that on the program today to get more information, or they could contact either one of you at any time to talk about this.
That's correct.
Yeah, any of the board members too. The Orion Township Board of Trustees 100% supported this, and we were glad to get this on the August ballot. We know how important it is to fund our first responders, to fund our police department and our fire department. So Chief, you, this is also considered a new millage. You're taking two existing millages and combining them. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, actually we had one millage that we'd been operating on for many years, and it was originally a 1 mil, but rolled back on the Headley rollback, so it was .9916. And then in 2012, and it's a millage that it had been renewed every 4 years. And in 2012, when we realized this need for additional firefighters and that, I asked for a 1 mil for 2 years to be able to look at what we're doing today. And again, that got rolled back to .9962 because of the Headley amendment. So again, we're doing the same thing the Sheriff's Department is. We're combining it, and it's actually, it's no increase. It's going to be 1.9840. But actually, it is a little bit of a rollback because we asked for a 1 in 2012, but it got rolled back. So and that's why we did it the way we did. We wanted to see if we would be able to operate efficiently when we did bring on these full-time personnel, because this is the first time we've ever had anything like this, and it's worked out great. We are able to operate within that 1.998 or 9840 mil. So that's why we can't ask for a renewal because it's different language,
yes,
but we are not asking for a penny more than what we're operating on right now.
And our voters understand that. They're informed. When they go to the polls on Election Day, they know what they're voting for. Doing things like this, talking about it, looking at the website, understanding what's involved, and knowing how important it is to have adequate first responders in place for emergencies and the safety of the community. When we opened the program, we said that we're one of the safest communities in Oakland County. Who wants to touch on that? Because that's really important.
We have one of the we're one of the safest communities, and we have very few crimes against people in Orion Township. Our clearance rates, if you make some searches, when you Google it, the crime stats, Orion Township, when compared to other cities and townships of our size, we're one of the most cost-effective communities when it comes to police and fire compared to the other communities around us. And the crime statistics show out the same thing, that we're one of the safest communities. I'd like to say that you can count on your fingers how many crimes against people that we actually have with unknown offenders. You can just about count on your fingers in Orion Township. So, you know, we like any community, we have some of the same types of issues with traffic and substance abuse and mental health issues and property crimes and things like that. We're not immune to those, but any community with 36,000 residents, and we're growing. You can see with the new road improvements that we have, the additional subdivisions, our police runs, we're closing in on 16,000 police runs in a single year.
Incredible.
We're averaging right this month about 50 runs every day. Police
That's a lot
runs.
of calls.
Yeah, it's a lot of so the deputies are very busy, but we're handling it just fine. We have adequate staff. We have very professionally trained. We have proper equipment and training, and most importantly, I think we coordinate a lot of our police, fire, and EMS services. So it's a total response.
And you have the support of the community. That's key. We all want to live in a community that's safe. We want the presence of our sheriff's office, we want the presence of our fire department, and the community supports that. When we moved here, we knew what we were accepting as our millages, we knew what we had in place, and the community supports that. I hear great things all the time about our sheriff's office. People are really glad to see you patrol through the neighborhoods. I think just the presence of the patrol car being there helps keep the peace. That's really important. And I was in training with our board of trustees. We were doing the CPR training, and we were almost near the end, and the firemen were training us, and they got a call for a child that had fallen and was hurt, and they immediately went from the trainers to the responders in a second. And good news is that little one's okay, but let's talk a little bit about the training that takes place. That's really key for a community.
It is, and I just want to start out by saying we weren't broke before as a fire department. We did great things even before, you know, with the retired chief and that. We never had a big problem or anything that we couldn't deal with. But one thing that we have stepped up, and it's a cost savings to the taxpayers. I can't afford to have 8 or 9 guys sitting at the station every day, waiting for that call. But we've instituted so much training with our neighboring departments in the last few years. I'm very proud to say that we hosted, a year ago, we hosted a training at GM. We brought in 14 departments. We worked together. We had over 100 people there that day, 100 firefighters training for the big one, as we like to say in the fire service. And just this spring, we did a training again where it was a water shuttle training because although we're a growing community, we still have rural areas where we don't have hydrants and other communities and that. So I'm very, very proud to say that we work really well with our neighboring departments and that. In fact, a lot of us get together, a lot of the chiefs get together, we'll have lunch on Friday, and we have different meetings and stuff like that. But we were just talking about the other day how just the fact that we do lunch together and get together like that. We've been on several fires where we've needed command staff to help with the fires and stuff like that. And just because we are together all the time, we just fall into those and those roles and everything. So it makes the community, it's behind the scenes stuff that the community doesn't really see, but I'm very confident that if something does happen, I can call my neighbors and they're going to come. And that, again, like I said in the beginning, it's a cost savings because now you know, every chief would love to have 8 or 10 guys sitting at each station all day.
And it's almost like you do when they all come together.
And that's where it works. So we do real well that way.
I'm glad. I know I've seen you guys show up, and you're so good at what you do, and you do work together very well. I've been involved with some training for drug and alcohol prevention with Lieutenant Toth because of the North Oakland Community Coalition, and you touched a little bit on that. You are a first responder, but also it's education and for our youth, and you have a liaison at the high school. So can we talk a little bit about some of the prevention things, because we want to be able to respond appropriately and get there as quick as possible, but if we can prevent some things in the beginning, it makes the community stronger.
I think primarily a lot of times when we go out to the community meetings, we're still trying to get our phone numbers out. I think that this needs to be said. Everyone, you know, knows when to call 911 when it's a life-threatening emergency. But our second number that we want our citizens to know and write down and hopefully put in their cell phones is our non-emergency number that goes right to the police cars or right to the fire vehicles, and that's 248-858-4911. So it's important that everyone knows how to press the button on their public safety system, okay? And for instance, when you hear something suspicious at, you know, in the middle of the night and you're not sure what it is, you know, you want to call that 858-4911 number and have you know, the men and women in uniform come out and check it out, whether it's you smell the odor of possible gas or something.
Okay.
We're the police and fire. We're there to come out, and it's part of we're part of the team. The citizens are part of this public safety team.
Indeed.
And that's how we want to work together. And the same thing with the businesses. We've reached out, especially in the last 4 years, to the schools, our businesses, our churches. You know, we're talking about public safety issues, and how to contact us, how to work with us, how to get some additional training, whether it's through the county or the Homeland Security or a lot of the local issues that we have, right here. I think when we talk about public safety, we call it like it's an all recipe. We never know what we're going to get when these radios go off. And I think when we prepare for the large events, we're also preparing for the smaller events, whether it's a medical emergency. So you contact us the same way. And some of it's understanding that process, how our dispatch center works, and how they are communicating with police and fire. So I think communicating, is the most important thing, and knowing how to reach out, whether if it is a substance abuse, there are different treatment programs. We work fabulously with our courts, our probation department. And those are all mechanisms in here.
It's all tied together.
It's all tied together, whether it's, with a lot with, like for law enforcement services, it's not just consequences. We want to, help people and provide whatever services, that they need at that moment in time.
I'm just going to share a couple things people may not realize, but there was a family who lost a loved one due to drug overdose, and that's so sad for that family. But the community can come alongside that family, and you came up to my office and you said, how do we get them plugged into Families Against Narcotics, so that they can get with a group of people that can help them through the crisis that they're going through. And I think that that's how a whole community works together. We all are part of the solution. We're all part of what we want to see accomplished for the community. And that's why it's so important that the community support this millage for both our sheriff and our fire on August 2nd. And I just want to say to the voters as well, you can go to your precinct on Election Day. Polls open at 7 o'clock a.m. and they remain open until 8 o'clock p.m. If you have questions regarding the ballot proposal, we do have sample ballots on the Orion Township website. You can go to the clerk's page. But also, if you're not in the community and you want to obtain an absent voter ballot, please feel free to contact the clerk's office, and you will be sent an application to complete to return to request your absent voter ballot. So there's a lot of ways that you can vote on Election Day, but the most important thing is get out there and vote. And we hope that we have your support for these two millages. It's very important for the well-being of our community. So thank you. A couple of things before we close. I want to talk about how the two of you work together. We see you together at Township Hall. Your offices are at the Township, so people can come and talk to you, Chief, and I know, Lieutenant, you do as well, but you guys are always planning. When we have big events, we have things going on in the community. How is it that your group, your department is working together so that we're sure the community is safe? We could say, for an example, the 4th of July events. Maybe that's a good place to start.
Well, we don't, Lieutenant and I, and most of my people, I'm sure all of his people, we go to school constantly and we learn how to work together. It's not just that Lieutenant and I are friends and we hang out together and stuff like that. We put a lot of training in, our people put a lot of training in, and there's so many organizations out there from FEMA and that. And one of them that we really institute a lot, whether it's a house fire, and we're always planning for a big event, and it's called NIMS, and it's National Incident Management System. And that's our Bible when we work together, because we have, obviously he doesn't know how to fight fire. I know he wants to learn, but he doesn't know how to fight fire, and I'm not going to chase bad guys and get shot in that. But there's a core when we have to come together, and we have to understand how each other works in that. So we constantly train that way. It may not look like it, but we're always putting things together in that, and it's all we have this underlying knowledge already how to work together and everything. So it's just a natural thing for us to come together. In fact, we sat down with the board here, was that a year ago, and informed the whole board. We did a little training on NIMS, and because we've actually got we instituted Emergency Operations Center for local right there at the Township Hall. So if we do have another storm that happened 2 years ago, we'll open that up. Him and I will be there with other key officials, and we'll be commanding our people and telling them where to go and stuff like that, what to do and how to mitigate the problem as soon as we can for the community. But that's the big thing, is we've got this background training that we've put together. So, I don't know if you want to add, other than the fact I know you want to be a firefighter.
Right. I think it's forward thinking. You know, we were already this morning, we're talking about the storms that may hit tomorrow.
Sure.
So we're always forward thinking, and you know, whether they're homeowners associations, businesses, churches, schools, everyone overlaps, you know, and we're always, when our residents come up to the Township Hall, whether it's for police or fire, or they're really not sure, we're always, you know, plugging them in, seeing what needs they have, and you really, that's the whole key, is working together. The reason why we can provide the police service, the level of police services that we do in Orion Township, is because of the resources that we utilize. We utilize not just resources that are here in our township, but our auto theft units and our drug units and our gang intelligence units, all these things, the aviation units, the marine units, all these specialized units, we both call on them to come in, lend their expertise, help us resolve or solve, or whether, you know, they bring in specialized equipment. It may involve specialized courtroom testimony, but we utilize all those types of resources that are available to us, and that really helps us keep the cost down, so we can put our best foot forward with our training and our what we call our local staffing right here in the township.
And let me add real quick too, and why we're able to operate so efficiently is because of a lot of stuff that the Sheriff Department does offer. For example, on a house fire, I have people that are trained to investigate fires, but we don't have fires every day, so they can't get that on-the-job training, so to speak. And so we're able to call the Sheriff Department to investigate the fire. It doesn't have to be a arson, so to speak. It could be a faulty piece of equipment or something like that, like a stove or something that's on a recall list that we don't know about. They have the technology, they have the information to get through to it. And that doesn't cost the township at all, either through the Sheriff Department or through the Fire Department. Those are services that they offer to us. The Marine Division, yes, they have the patrols out there and everything, but if we have somebody, a kid that gets lost, that we can't find them, that may be underwater or something, we call them. So it's a great thing that we have this collaboration with the Sheriff Department, because they have all these extra resources. Again, like I say, for the fire investigators, they just don't do it for Orion Township. They're all over the whole county. These guys are investigating 4 and 5 and 6 fires a day sometimes. So the knowledge they receive, we could never get that knowledge, and it's invaluable knowledge. So
it's a great way to work together for the community's good.
We're sharing. We're sharing resources, and when our neighbors, whether it's Auburn Hills or Oxford or Independence Township or Oakland, we're all sharing different resources and for the best possible response.
Yep, and people know it, and that's why we support you. I got to talk a little bit though about solicitors. That's a big deal. When anyone's coming to your door and they want to sell you something, or they're asking for a donation of any kind, can you tell us a little bit, Lieutenant Toth, what we need to look for?
Well, number one, look for an ID. Okay, and all the solicitors in Orion Township, there are a few exceptions from religious purposes, but for the most part, solicitors are required to register, so we know who is out and about in our neighborhoods. And we've done a fabulous job, I think, over the last 4 years, that you know, our residents really have stepped up. They're not afraid to call
Yes.
858-4911, and we're simply going to go out and check those people out. They're going to get a warning. We don't take anyone to jail for the first time for something like that, but they, you know, we explain the rules, and that just helps us know who's in our neighborhoods. They have good intentions, and we can check them out.
And you would much rather do that than have them approach them.
Yeah, we don't want our residents to become
Yes.
victims of crimes.
Agree. Any closing statements, Chief, that you want to share with the group?
Again, I just want everybody to know that we're running as efficiently as we can.
Indeed.
And this is why it's very important that both departments get this yes vote on August 2nd. So.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. I'm glad that you both were here. You shared some great information with our viewers, and I know our voters are informed, and I'm hopeful for their support at the August 2nd primary election. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today. This has been an excellent opportunity for you to learn about both the proposals on the ballot on August 2nd, and we hope that you will support them on Election Day. Thank you.